Yeah, I gave out some good grades, but honestly, it's mostly because I was really impressed with what I saw out of the defense.
Well, you said that you're impressed with what you saw out of the defense, but that started on the offense because you gave DeMarco Murray, Ryan Matthews, and the offensive line all got A's yesterday. And I guess Murray had his best game as an Eagle. Matthews continues to play well, but the offensive line, a big help there. So what did you see from those three?
Well, with DeMarco Murray, I knew some people probably would say, really an A for DeMarco. Well, did he miss some holes, in my opinion? Yeah, I mean, he could have possibly had even more yards, but he still had total over 120 yards, I believe it was. And to me, I'll take that from DeMarco Murray every week. In terms of the offensive line, they finally got the ground game going. When you rack up over 500 total yards of offense, it's hard really not to give some of those guys an A. So I was really impressed with them. And then in terms of Ryan Matthews, I really would like to see him get more touches, but you run into the problem of you only have one football. I would have liked to see maybe, you can play ticky-tack, but give maybe 2 less carries to DeMarco Murray, give Matthews a couple more. Because to me, he's hitting the holes faster than Murray right now, and that's why Matthews is having success.
Obviously, another guy on the offensive side of the ball that you gave an A to here, which was Josh Huff. And I wonder, are you seeing something from Huff? Is he a guy that could be a more consistent performer? Because the wide receiver play for me, Scott, and you're there, you could see that bird's eye view. They just don't have the speed. They don't have that explosive player. Could Huff be that guy?
I think he can. I just don't know if he can do it consistently. What we saw yesterday is I think what everybody's been kind of waiting for out of him, the yards after the catch. The explosion, that he showed after he caught the ball, and with the kickoff return was good. So I was really impressed with all of that in terms of what Josh Huff gave. The question is, can he do it several weeks in a row? And I guess we'll find out beginning next week.
Scott Grayson's grades, couple A's on the defensive line, Fletcher Cox and Benny Logan. These guys each week, it seems like they're high on your grade list, but what stood out about those two guys yesterday?
I just really thought those guys played a lot more consistent and a lot better in terms of what they brought to the game. And this team needs more of what they had yesterday. But Bradford needs to be a lot better. Can't throw those interceptions in the end zone. That's what really ticked me off in terms of what he did. Because that game really could have gotten out of hand a lot sooner than it did had he not made those mistakes.
We're talking with Scott Grayson. Grayson's grades are posted right now at 97.3 ESPN.com. Let's go down to the B level here. And one guy that, a lot of people asking about is Chip Kelly, the coach. And did you like what you saw from him making the adjustments? Did he make enough necessary adjustments, obviously, to get himself into the B category? But he's been a guy you've been critical of.
Yeah, and I think everybody has. And what he showed me was that, he'll be stubborn, but maybe not stubborn to death. He showed a little bit of flexibility in terms of changing things up by putting Bradford under center, letting DeMarco Murray try running out of that where he can gain a little speed when he gets the ball rather than trying to get the ball and then move, which is not DeMarco Murray's game. It was funny at the beginning of the game, a guy next to me who I sit next to all the time at the Eagles games turned to me. He goes, so runner pass on the first play, on the first possession. And I said, it's always a run. Let's be honest, it's going to be a run. And sure enough, Chip passed the ball. So I was impressed by the fact that, he showed the ability to come out and pass to try to set up the run, whereas he always seems like he wants to run to set up the pass. Sometimes you have to be flexible and understand that that's not going to be what you're going to get from the defense. So I saw a little bit of flexibility from Chip Kelly for possibly the first time in his tenure here.
Scott, how about Bradford? You put him in the C category. Now, he had maybe his best game as an Eagle, 333 yards, completion percentage very high. Obviously, the 2 picks were factored in there.
Yeah, when you're playing a good team, and ultimately this team wants to get to the playoffs, when you're playing a playoff team, you cannot have that happen. Those are points that you have to at least get a field goal out of those 2 possessions. And then realistically, obviously, you want a touchdown on both of them, if not one. And it was the type of throw. One was a bad read. He tried to drill it in when clearly the play was to lob it over the defender that was in front of his receiver on the first one. He's got, and I think he's getting there. What I'm seeing out of Bradford, and it started last week, on the confidence in throwing the deep balls, I'm seeing a guy who's finally starting to look a little bit more comfortable. And if he can continue to take baby steps week to week to week, if this team can continue to hang in there, then by the time the end of the season rolls around, I think he's going to be where everybody thought he was going to be a little bit sooner.
How much did the players that you talked to after the game last night, and we were listening to some of your audio earlier that you sent over, how much did they think that Bradford, really stepped up as a leader? I know there's a lot of reports that he got everybody together before the game. Was that something that was a theme after the game?
Yeah, you heard from several guys that, particularly Lane Johnson was the one who was telling me about it, the meeting in the shower before the game. And then that strictly is because when you understand the locker room, when you're the home team, it's a spacious locker room. But if you want to have an offense-only meeting, that's not going to be really possible to have and say what you think needs to be said there in the confines of the open part of the locker room. So Bradford apparently grabbed the guys. The whole offense went into the shower area where they could have a little bit of privacy, air out a little bit of things. And he basically told them, hey, guys, it's time to, we know we have the talent and the ability to do what needs to be done. It's time now to go out there and do it. And I asked Johnson, is that the kind of leadership you guys have been looking for out of this guy, and what was delivered by doing that? And he said, yeah, this is what we thought Sam Bradford was going to be for us, and we did rally around it. So to me, it was, in terms of what you're looking for out of Bradford off the field, that's what I think these guys may have been waiting for. But outside of that, the offensive line, really kind of told me that they just dumbed down everything. They just worked on the little things. They said focus on the footwork and making sure you're blocking the guy in front of you instead of overthinking what the guy next to you might be doing, because you have to do your job. You can't worry about him.
Well, interesting that it seems like they had been waiting for this to come out of him. Like, hey, where is this from this guy? I think that's a pretty interesting take there.
Yeah, it is. And, it's interesting that happened, and then they went out and played the kind of game they played. And everybody was really complimentary of Bradford from the standpoint that those 2 interceptions didn't derail him. Some quarterbacks would be kicking themselves and potentially not recover all that well from it. He went back out there and he kept throwing the ball around, and some of his receivers dropped balls again. And that can't happen. But he's shown me the ability to really not, he's got a short-term memory, I think is what you say out of a lot of good athletes. If something goes wrong, they forget about it in a hurry and move on and start doing good things ahead of it, not letting one bad thing turn into 10 and 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Scott Grayson, of course, was on the scene, and we'll be there again for Monday Night Football when the Eagles take on the New York Giants. That game with first place now implications. And, of course, you can read Grayson's grades at 97.3 ESPN.com. And, of course, on Monday's show, we'll preview the game with Scott, and then we'll have Grayson's grades on a Tuesday edition next week with John and I live over at the Golden Nugget. All right, man. Well, we'll see. 2-3 moving forward. That's all you got to do. That's all you can do in this league. Win and move on.
Hey, in this division, they're not in a bad spot, sadly.
Sadly is right. And I know you were in Morgantown the other night. Another sad feeling there. A loss in overtime. Oh, man, it's getting bad. But all right, Scott, we'll talk to you then.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Mike.
Grayson's grades always posted at 97.3 ESPN.com. And, of course, Scotty was down there in Morgantown for the West Virginia-Oklahoma State game. He does work for the Mountaineer Sports Network down there. And another bad loss in overtime this time. So I can't seem to get my two teams connecting at the same time. Don't forget, listen tomorrow morning for the Flyers Ticket Thursday Game of the Week. Josh will have it for you at 6:25, 7:25, 8:25, and 9:25.